So after today's GRAIL purchase, I may actually only have $5 left, and when I was randomly mixing sound music, I came across some of that recording, and I was like, that's hilarious, made me laugh. So it's in there, it's part of my Punisher video. Guys, I got the Jon Bernthal Punisher from the Netflix Daredevil television show, and I'm pretty excited. It's the 1/6 scale Hot Toys representation. Now, this guy came out in 2017, and I've been chasing him for a while. When people say they're having a chase figure in their collection, for me, this was one of them. And of course, now I need his companion piece. I need the Daredevil, and I don't have him yet. So, I've shown you the packaging. I've shown you the clamshell. That's not really the exciting part. I wanted to get the figure out here because this is unique. I can see where some of the evolution of Hot Toys has come from and what I think that they did really well here. You saw that split cut boot down at the bottom. It's a really unique piece. It's a foot peg as well as a boot cover that kind of slips down over his ankle, which gives a really good range of motion in the legs. I think the likeness to the actor here is fantastic. Now, I made a mistake a few weeks ago on LWO. I was a little tipsy and a little stoned, and I said this guy's name was Jeremy Benthal. Obviously not the case. Jon Bernthal. I apologize to all the fans out there that I made cringe at that time. You know, it's one of those things. You say the wrong shit sometimes. It's the way she goes. The body on this figure, I don't love. It does feel kind of old. Has anybody out there who's owned this figure done a body swap? I want to hear from you in the comments down below if you have, because I'm kind of considering it. The knees are a little weak. They tend to bend a little more easily than I'd like to see, especially since I don't like to use figure stands. This is what I was talking about with the ankle, where the boot cover kind of slips down over. It does help with stability, but to be honest, it's also a little weak. So I'd be worried that over time, I may need that figure stand for this guy, especially if he's holding a minigun or sniper rifle or any of those things. So I want to bring that to your attention. Now, this is interesting as well. They've clearly sculpted hair on his arms, but they really haven't painted it. And he's a dark-haired fellow, so his body hair would honestly have color to it. It's almost like they forgot to paint it. But then there are applications of the paint in the hairline here that are fantastic. The beard stubble looks really good, like shockingly good. I almost hope that the camera is getting it across. I like the little bit of scarring on his cheek there and that wound. I think that looks pretty good and is painted well. I even see some of the bruising around the wound, which I think is kind of cool. Now, again, his range of movement is okay. You can get his arm up pretty high. Oh, you see, there's where that knee bent as I've got some pressure down on it. Now, this guy was stored from the previous owner. I got this used. I didn't get it new, but it was in excellent condition overall. And the previous owner typically kept this in storage. So the joints on mine, especially at the elbows, are extremely stiff. On the other arm, that secondary like forearm section tends to pop out of the bicep really easy. And so it's at that point where I'm worried that once I've got the jacket on the figure, it might not stay. Now, this is the sniper rifle that I was mentioning. This is a nice piece. It's relatively just black plastic, to be honest. I like that it's got some moving mechanisms. I think that's pretty cool. You can get some really interesting shots, especially if you want to do a bit of a short with this character. And as much as I like die-cast accessories, this would be too heavy in die-cast. I can understand why they made it plastic. We don't want this pulling the figure over. And that's a bit of a weird dichotomy of feelings because, again, the plastic makes it feel cheaper, but the die-cast I think would be too heavy. This is where I think you can have die-cast. This is a plastic knife. The paint applications are pretty good, but it feels kind of cheap. Again, it's a bit of an older release for sure, but I think a die-cast accessory when it comes to something like a knife is really cool and needed almost. This holster for the knife is awesome. There's no instruction in the box on where this actually slots onto the figure. Now, it does have a strap on the back, so I think I could unclasp his vest, but I'd be worried I'd have a hard time getting that clasp back in just to get this slotted around. So as cool as this piece is to have included in the box, it may actually stay just with my other figure accessories and not on the figure itself. Which is unfortunate, because he's the Punisher. I kind of want him to hold about as many weapons as he, possibly can. Now, this is the minigun bullet strip. I think this is pretty cool. It's a pretty thick, dense rubber. It has some great movement and articulation, and it slots into this minigun, making it look like it is loaded and ready for action. And again, I'm happy that this isn't a die-cast piece because it would be so heavy, but I think they could have done a bit better of a job on the paint applications for this minigun. It looks kind of just like black plastic. There's a little bit of paint changes around the barrel there, but again, nothing crazy. Like, heat up the tips, make it look like this has just been pumping the bullets out. He's the Punisher. It looks too new. I don't know. I don't love this, even though it's still clearly one of the coolest gun accessories I think I have in my collection. This is what it looks like with the machine gun bullet belt. I think that looks fantastic. And again, I apologize. I'm not a huge gun guy, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what is this strip actually called? Is it a bullet belt? Is it a bullet strip? You guys tell me. Now, he does come with a crotch grabber and a figure stand. I like the kind of simple nature of this. It looks like water texturing on the ground, which I think is cool. It's interesting to me that they've really labeled this as Daredevil though, because it's the Punisher. And I know that he comes from the Daredevil television show, but it's interesting that, like, I don't have a Daredevil in my collection yet, and yet I have a figure-based stand that says exclusively Daredevil, not even Daredevil featuring the Punisher or something along those lines. Now, he does come with this Daredevil helmet though, which, if you remember from the show, he ends up kind of taking from Daredevil after a pretty good fight scene. And I think it's really cool that they included it. I'm not gonna lie, I love extra stuff like this. This is the type of accessory that gets my juices flowing. So thank you, Hot Toys. This is a cool inclusion. Now, the hands are pretty basic, but I actually think that they're well painted, especially because this is a bit of an older figure. But this is why I bought this figure. I've heard a lot of complaints about the jacket peeling over time because it's pleather, and I know that in certain climates in the world, it's more prone to happen. I've been lucky here in dry Canada and had no peeling on any of my previous figures, including my 1.0 Bane. This has no peeling from what I can tell, which is awesome. So let's get it on the figure and see. Oh yeah, so this amps this up for me so much more because, like I said to you earlier in the video, I don't really love the figure body and I don't like seeing joints. This jacket on the figure is bringing it to life. And you know, I put the pistol in his hand that he comes with. I apologize, I forgot to show the pistol exclusively, but that's what he looks like with the figure anyways. Again, there's actually no real good place on this figure to slip that pistol into. So I'm gonna try and be creative about where I stick that, maybe in his boot or something along those lines. But the jacket was delicate material. Slipping his arms in, I actually took his hands right off the wrist pegs and slipped it in through the sleeves on the back. And I was impressed because as soon as I got it on, it really hugged the figure well, and there's these wires on the bottom of the coat. So when you put him in something like a walking pose, or even, you know, holding a sniper rifle or something along those lines, it can look like there's some wind. His head tilts really nicely and turns really nicely. So again, even though he does not have a rolling eye system, you can make him look relatively expressive, even though he has the same facial expression. It just kind of depends on how you tilt the head and where you make him look. But like getting the minigun in his hand, oh, like that's pretty sweet. I'm digging that a lot for the collection. This is how I think I might actually display him in my collection though, with the minigun at his waist, and it looking like he's gonna just discard his sniper rifle, or like holding the Daredevil helmet in the one hand. That's also cool as well. There's quite a bit of posing I'd like to see, but I think I'll keep the jacket on. Seeing those arm seams are a little ugly. Don't love that specifically. But even this, just looking into the helmet, it's pretty cool. Now, I will say, I also kind of want a Thomas Jane Punisher in my collection at some point. I loved the Thomas Jane Punisher, but Jon Bernthal crushed it in this role, and he deserves to be in the collection. If I were to rate this figure, I'd give it a 9.5. I love the head sculpt, I love the accessories that it comes with. The body's my only weakness, I would say, for this particular character, or figure release, but it's not a game changer. So happy I got it. I'd love to hear from you guys down below. Do you have this figure in your collection, or have you been searching for it? My fiance thinks this guy looks like the guy from Walking Dead. What do you think? Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll catch you guys on the next one.